If it's a good movie, the sound could go off and the audience would still have a pretty clear idea of what's going on. This could also be probably said about Rian Johnson's latest whodunit multi-starrer murder mystery, Knives Out. After severe criticisms from Star Wars fans and about how Johnson dealt with the mystery of The Last Jedi, where the story turned on its head midway when the audience gets to know an unflattering detail about Luke Skywalker, Johnson attempts the same skill, but this time for an original murder mystery screenplay. Reminiscent of Hitchcock's Psycho, where our lead protagonist turns gets written off only after 20 minutes. Therefore, the story revolves around the red herring of the murderer. Knives Out's best element used is probably therefore the planting and payoff. The exposition is simple and straightforward. A famous author is found dead apparently due to suicide. A patriot-like famous detective interviews his family members to find each has a motive to murder him, elements that almost remind us of Murder on the Orient Express by Agatha Christie. Except unlike Orient Express and Psycho, we immediately get to know the victim actually dies. The rest of the story follows the medical caretaker of the victim, who now, due to the victim himself, has all the reasons to not be caught, and all the circumstances that lead us to assume she is going to be caught any second. Remember the Hitchcock experiment where the director lets the audience know that there is a bomb under the table and the clock is ticking? Rian Johnson has delivered on exactly that, with an added twist, all through planting to establish the setup as well as a reminder of payoff in the end. Since there are so many characters, the first act is used to establish the personalities and traits. The exposition is done in numerous ways, via narration and flashbacks, sometimes creating dramatic irony with their lies. It also comes to us as a puzzle, where you're constantly trying to find the murderer, but you can't do it because not all the information has been revealed to the audience yet. So the best thing you can do is gather the information for casualty and hope the ride is worth it in the end. In that regard, let's talk about the perfection of structure in Knives Out for a second. The script follows a three-act structure. The first act establishes characters, their personalities, traits, and backstory, any possible reason to commit murder. By the end of the first act, the audience becomes familiar with the characters and set up the foundation for them. Now the story moves to the second act, where it follows Martha, and we only see her side of the story, enough to mislead the audience. At this point, the audience knows more than Benoit Blanc, at least it looks like it. The third act begins with something that no one saw coming. Fran lying half dead on the floor. The film does its exposition using both visuals and dialogue, and these often contradict each other. If you were to do a second viewing of the movie, or even the 10th, you will see hints planted all over the place for everyone to see. The first, Ransom missing the funeral. He attends the will reading only to be a dick to everyone.
Joni, you've had your teeth in this family's tit for a long time.
Up your ass? Oh, very nice.
Matter of fact, eat shit. How's that? In fact,
Do not use that word in front of my son.
eat shit.
If
I
Eat
wasn't
shit.
practicing,
Eat shit.
I would slap that smug smile.
Definitely eat shit. Eat shit.
When Blanc asked Richard why he came early to help the caterer set up, he was lying, leading to Blanc tie an extramarital affair within only the 20 minutes of the movie. That explanation was the planting. When Richard goes back to destroy the letter, he finds it blank. This was the reminder. In addition, at the very end, Linda reads it. Let's look at another example. Grandnana saw Marta climb down the wall and said,
Are you back again already?
she mistakes her for Ransom, but says something very important, yet something many of us forget instantly. With Knives Out, Rian Johnson not only makes an original plot of the classic whodunit movies, but also adds a lot of self-aware comedy to it. He does it using three techniques: dialogues, smash cuts, and dramatic irony. Everything should not be revealed upfront. Suspense is created when some information is withheld. They further help us to lead to a plot twist, much like the detective is in for a ride to know who hired him, and to find the donut hole inside the hole inside the hole. The audience is also made aware of the things right from the beginning, like My House, My Rules coffee mug, a shot of which starts the movie but also empathetically ends it. Or the famous author's despair that people don't know the difference between a prop knife and a real knife. These visual puns work really well for Knives Out. The Game of Thrones like chair with knives around in the shape of a circle, or dare I say, a donut. Every suspect at the beginning of the movie is sitting away from the center of the donut, but Martha was right at the center of it. Martha is the only suspect incapable of lying, making her the objective character of the lot, with whom the detective as well as the audience wants to trust as a lead protagonist. This was clearly exemplified when Benoit Blanc lets Martha know of the most important evidence of her involvement with the murder, a dot of blood on her shoe. Ransom couldn't tell the difference between a stage knife and a real knife. The ending shot of Martha standing tall and the rest of the family looking up at her, they no more own or can stay in, really brings the story to a closed loop, where the audience justifiably revel in the win of our protagonist. I have to say, Knives Out can find its place among some of the intricately methodical scripts written in the films such as Strangers on a Train, Dial M for Murder, or even Parasite.